Hello everybody, it's Toys of Arkham here. I'm back with another review, and this is I suppose a franchise or a character that I am not too fond of, not a big fan of, but I have so many iconic horror figures in my collection, be it through 1/6 scale or in the 7-inch line that Neca do. And I suppose when it comes to horror icons, it is hard to overlook Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I suppose I had to have something from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre line, and I know there are various, I suppose, versions of the classic Leatherface, but you can't beat the original. And I saw a review of this figure and I was very impressed by it, and I suppose I just said, look, I will pull the trigger. And I saw it was on the Mad About Horror website in stock, so I said, right, I will order from them. And it arrived very quickly, and just like all NECA figures, you have to be careful about where you order them from, because there are so many knockoffs on the market, and I've been stung a couple of times. And you think when you look at them through the photographs that they post online and everything that they look like the real deal, but it's fairly quickly when you have them in hand that you realize, no, I've got a dud on my hand here. Anyway, this is not the case, thank God. So this is the box. It's the NECA, as I said, 7-inch Ultimate Leatherface. Who will survive and what will be left of them? This was the first horror movie I saw that truly turned my stomach. You know, it really was graphic and gory and extremely disturbing. It had a lasting effect. I found it very hard to watch it. And I suppose, you know, we're now in the time, day and age where movies like Terrifier exist and gore has been taken to a whole other level. But this was the first film I saw that was really that graphic. So as you can see, it says the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, America's most bizarre and brutal crimes. What happened is true. Now the motion picture that's just as real. Yeah, that was the other aspect of how this was pretty disturbing from when I was a kid. I was born in 81, so I saw this when it was more or less new out. And yeah, based on a true story, that gave a whole other angle of terror. So this is figure photography here on the inside. A really good image of the figure. And then there's the backdrop that you can see behind that figure. And it's actually in the box, so you can do some cool figure photography with it. But I left my backdrop for now in the box. And on the back, again, you can see Leatherface. This is the tragic tale of 5 young friends who venture into rural Texas one hot afternoon and become victims in one of the most bizarre and brutal crimes in Travis County history. Many of them meet a horrific end at the hands of the murderous lunatic Leatherface in what comes to be known as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This figure arrived, as I said, recently, and my children, who are 9, 6 and 4, were very eager to find out what Daddy has gotten into his collection that is new, and they wanted to open the box, and I knew what figure was in it, and I was thinking to myself, there is no way you are going to get a look at this figure. So I just made various excuses and hid it from them, because you don't want them looking at this monster that is Leatherface. I'm going to ignore who's at the door and hope they go away and carry on with this review. So let's have a look at the accessories first. Look at this disgusting head sculpt. Horrible looking thing. I'm not sure I would use this sculpt. Really is horrible. rotten looking, disgusting. Of course, that mask was a real human face that had been removed from someone who had been murdered and placed onto the face of Leatherface. It's been that long since I've seen the movie. I'm not quite sure what that particular mask is from or who it's from. So this is a crowbar or a meat hook. I think this was actually placed into the back of someone as they hung from inside sort of a butcher's abattoir, if I remember correctly. So shiny blood. We have this sort of dagger. And we have a meat cleaver. And we have a hammer. Now, if I remember this scene with the hammer, and it was pretty disgusting. None of these are metal, just plastic. But let's start from the feet up. So these sort of boots and slacks, and of course the iconic butcher's apron, which has blood splatter all over it. Unfortunately, the way this particular figure was packed, the apron isn't sitting as I would like it to sit. So ideally it should be just kind of wrapped in a bit more like that. It would be great if there was a wire in it, but there isn't. So it is a fabric, sort of a leather feel, pleather cape, or apron should I say. And if you turn him around, it's tied on. It comes in the box that way. Then he has this sort of a old tattered shirt that looks very realistic. It's not fabric, that's molded plastic in the sculpt. This apron here, as it is around his neck, could do with a bit of manipulating because it's sort of caught there. I think the standout aspect of this is the iconic chainsaw itself. Like, look at that. It's really cool. It's got blood splatter all over it. He falls on his behind. There we go. And it's great. The blood actually is sort of splattered up onto his arms, which are real gritty. And the sculpting is excellent. You can see sort of the musculature, the dirt and grime all over his arm and hand. The blood is on both sides, so the detail is great. The blood is on both sides of the chainsaw itself. And again, forearm detail, excellent. And you have a sort of a fabric tie. Sorry, it's not fabric, it's actually plastic. And of course, you've got the head sculpt, which again is skin taken off a victim and placed onto the face of the murderer himself, Leatherface. So this, I need to fix the collar and the tie of the apron. It's not quite sitting properly. And we have pretty decent hair that has been sculpted. Yeah, it's excellent. So as I said, I'm obviously a fan of horror movies, and I didn't have this guy in the collection, but you know, I wasn't going to go down the route of spending €200-300 on a 1/6 scale figure of this particular character. I don't like him that much, so I was happy enough to go down the Neca route. I have some other Neca horror figures and stuff down here, so I'm going to put them down there. If at all, I might not even put them on display because I just don't want my kids getting freaked out. How do I explain this? The ugly chef that got ketchup all over his apron. Okay, Daddy, so why does he need a chainsaw? I don't know, it's a very big burger or steak that he needs to use a chainsaw on. I don't think they're buying any of that. It's the best I can come up with. So unfortunately, he mightn't be getting displayed at all, or I might have to put him up somewhere very high that's just out of sight so that only I can see him. Any suggestions, let me know. Have you guys got kids that are sauntering around your collection room and you have to be careful about what you have on display? Because figures these days are getting very realistic looking, and if you're into the horror genre, you know, obviously these characters aren't exactly child friendly, so we have to be careful about what we're showing the kids, and there's only so much you can explain away without them kind of getting suspicious of dad's strange, weird hobby and interests. Anyhow, that concludes this review. I really like the figure. I think they put in a great effort, and it has a very good presence. No doubt an iconic horror character, and Neca are just so good and at a reasonable price. But as I said, just be careful with these Neca figures. There's a lot of knockoffs. Mad About Horror always get the good stuff, and there's a the joints on this aren't that loose and aren't too tight either. So, but again, just be careful with that as well, taking them out of the packaging and moving them for the first time. You don't want them snapping. I always say that. Sometimes you have to use a hairdryer or hot water, but this one seems okay. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that. Please like, comment if you wish, and you might even think of subscribing. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.